Hi, this is Hank reporting from Kyiv, and this is my update on Russian-Ukrainian war. Let's see what happened around Ukraine in the last 24 hours. 1st of September. I'm fine. F16 Pilot Killed. Thermite. 71% support. Deadly attack on Poltava and Kharkiv. On the 1st of September, Ukraine celebrated the start of the new school year in our schools and universities. Russia, as expected, congratulated us with a missile and drone attack in the night to spoil everyone's mood. They also destroyed a part of a school facility here in Kyiv. It's certainly in the Russian style to try to break the spirit of the people. They know that this day is important and the whole country will be wearing nice clothes and taking their children to school for the first time, and it's important for Putin to show that there is no safety for them on their native land and at the moment. We all wish that all our children who are currently staying abroad with their families would be able to start the first grade at home, but it's too dangerous yet. In this photo you see how Ukrainian children study in an underground school. Of course this is wrong and it's emotionally hard. All these children will grow up and will remember for the rest of their lives how they ran to a bomb shelter from Russian missiles. Everyone understands that these are Russian missiles, and after that Russians will complain that Ukrainians hate them for whatever reason. Do you see the logic here? I speak as a person from Donbass who spoke Russian most of his life and identified our peoples as relatives with a common history. In this photo from 1994, you see me happily celebrating September 1st in my school number 66 in Mariupol. What's interesting is that it seemed to be the only Ukrainian language school in the city back then. And when my parents were asked, why did you send him to a Ukrainian school, they simply shrugged their shoulders. In fact, the school was just next to my house and there was an in-depth study of English, and my mother was an English teacher, so the choice was obvious. With such a face, I went to school for all 10 years. I really didn't like studying, as you see, and we didn't even have airstrikes back then. This footage was filmed by my neighbor Angelica. She films from her window how a Russian tank is shooting in the direction of my house, and my school is smoking after a Russian air bomb hit it. There can be two versions here. Only Russia bombed Mariupol from the air. Absolutely everyone understands this. Ukraine didn't have any air force in that area, not to mention that there was no point in blowing up our own school. It's hard for me to watch this video because I know every stone in that area, and this road was my main route to the public transport for about 25 years. I know it by heart. I learned to drive a car on these narrow roads when I managed to stow my father's vehicle when I was a teenager in the 90s, and now I'm watching an enemy tank driving along this road and shooting in direction of my house. It still sounds like it's still unrealistic to me, as if I'm watching an action movie filmed in my house. The same goes for the documentary 20 Days in Mariupol, which won an Oscar. My friends and I perceived all this as a terrible dream and hope that it will end. Well, it must end. I'm Fine is the name of the Ukrainian installation at the Burning Man festival this year. These are huge colorful letters, very appropriate for the event, but they have an important subtext. These are not just letters assembled from rough material. All the elements were damaged by Russian missiles, bullets, or shells. Each piece of art has its own distance from which it is best viewed. You may have noticed that galleries often organize the space in such a way that it's convenient for you to look at the picture. From a distance, these letters look nice, grotesque, but up close they are perceived differently. You can literally touch what was damaged by the explosion. Touch the tragedy while being in a safe place. I think this is very powerful. What is the essence of art? As far as I understand, contemporary art has only one goal: to evoke emotions in you. And these emotions are not necessarily good. If you look at a picture and tears flowed, it means the work of art works. It has no utilitarian value, but it has a spiritual value, and the artist's task is to touch your soul whether you want it or not. If you don't want it, you can just walk away. The author describes it this way: people stand and watch, sometimes for a very long time. They touch sharp edges, many of them cry. It seems that our idea worked and tens of thousands of people will see it here. Our absolutely inadequate life situation has become the norm for us. We have learned to be strong and celebrate life even under these circumstances. We react less and less to missiles and death, grief, and the extra efforts that we have to make just to not go crazy from fears of war and from the feeling of guilt for not doing enough. The normal is scarier than the horrors of the night. But we live, we fight, and sometimes we even try to rejoice. I can totally relate to what he says, and I know what it means to say I'm fine. Every week I communicate with many people from afar, and I often have to say something like, at 4 a.m. a missile was shot down over my house, but you know, I'm fine. It's such a primitive phrase, but now it describes our state as accurately as possible. Optimism plus a lot of pain plus a lot of fatigue plus more optimism. Under the video, I will leave a link to a video from the previous Burning Man where Ukraine presented the installation Hedgehog Temple, which was built from anti-tank structures that we call hedgehogs. It collected the stories of those who died during the war. You can't imagine how much I would like Ukraine to be associated with the revival of life after victory in the war and not with endless tragedies, but for now this is all we have. We are fine. On August 26, when Russia carried out its most massive air attack to date, we lost F16 pilot Alexei Mes, callsign Moonfish. I'm not saying we lost a jet, but I'm focusing on the pilot because a person is much more important than any machine. This is a huge loss for us because combat pilots are among the most valuable professions, and Alexei did a lot to ensure that our country received F-16s in such a short term. As you remember, the Americans said that our pilots learn very quickly and practically do not allow them to rest from training. If someone could have guessed at the beginning of this war that in just 30 months Ukraine would receive American jets and pilots ready to fly them, few would have believed it. This is Alexei Moonfish. In that battle, he shot down 3 cruise missiles and a drone that were flying to attack our cities in the middle of the night. We do not know the cause of death at the moment. There are many versions on the internet, but such cases can be investigated for years, so I'll not even guess what the reasons for the death of our hero are. I personally know one pilot who defended our capital and was shot down at the beginning of the Russian invasion. As far as I know, the pilots are a family, and like any family, everyone is very painful experiencing the loss of brothers in arms. The commander awarded Moonfish the rank of colonel, and the issue of awarding him the title of Hero of Ukraine is currently being considered. Rest easy, hero. Thank you for your service. This is something new, and I decided to include this block in the video. Here you can see how a Ukrainian drone literally burns out Russian positions. This is the first time I've seen it, and it looks impressive. Someone assumed that it was napalm, but as far as I know, it's called Thermite, a mixture of aluminum and metal oxide. A terrible way to die. Wouldn't it be better to sit in your village somewhere in Siberia, drink vodka and beat your wife as usual than to burn to dust in a trench somewhere in the east of Ukraine? Denmark has committed to provide Ukraine with military assistance comparable to 71% of its defense budget for 2 years. Thus, Denmark has become a leader in helping Ukraine in relative terms. The Scandinavian and Baltic countries are among the leaders. The Netherlands is also in 4th place. Unfortunately, this country is well aware of what Russian crimes are, reports the channel War Infographic. 71% of the budget is a lot and very cool. In this infographic, you can literally see how civilized countries that are within reach of Russian weapons do not want to have such a neighbor. I'm grateful to everyone who helps us survive. If a country is at peace but preparing for war, this is a reasonable strategy, especially when you see that the war is already going on nearby. Other historian Timothy Snyder, whom I respect, says, Ukraine is now like Czechoslovakia in 1938, but it chose to fight and is buying us all time. This man clearly understands more about world history than most of us, and I'll leave a link to the video of his speech below. A couple of days ago, the Russians attacked Kharkiv with ballistic missiles, killing civilians. As always, the missile hit an ordinary residential building. I decided not to embed the video here, and I will always remember the picture of a decapitated 18-year-old girl on a bench near her house, killed by shrapnel from this missile. Just a terrible picture, don't Google it. And today, September 3, the Russians attacked a military educational institution, the Institute of Communications in Poltava. At the time of writing, it is known that 41 people were killed, 180 people were injured, and the rescuers continued to pull them out of under the rubble. This video shows the aftermath of direct hit. I will not show the video of the dead because of YouTube rules and probably because it's simply painful for me to watch it again. This war is too expensive. Why did they link to news an attack on a residential building and a military school? This shows that when Russians want to hit a specific place, they hit it. Once again, I have a question. Why did they hit a residential building? For the thousandth of time. For 30 months, they have been persistently hitting houses, but I don't see the effect. People do not flee the country anymore. People do not try to surrender to the Russians. Soldiers do not retreat. You just anger the Ukrainians, and the Ukrainians fight even more fiercely and donate money to support the army. Do the Russians not understand that their tactics did not work? Or maybe they don't have any other tool other than straight terror? I have no answer. As it often happens, everything that occurs during the war has some direct relation to my life. My relatives live in Poltava and my friends live in Kharkiv, where I studied at the university, and this is Saltivka area which came under fire. I rented an apartment when I came to take exams. It seems that during the war everything has become more acute. We perceive victories and defeats more vividly. These days Ukraine has won 35 medals at the Paralympics, and we have arrested Russian agents, had Remembrance Day for the dead on August 29, celebrated Knowledge Day, and hid from a mass shelling for 3 nights in a row. I jumped out of bed in the middle of the night from the sound of a jet fighter flying to shoot down missiles coming our way. When you wake up from this sound, you don't immediately understand what is happening. You just grab some stuff and run for cover. It's annoying, but hey, I'm still alive. I've been running this YouTube channel for over 3 months now. This video is number 67, and I see 207 subscribers. Thank you so much for being here, interested in the fate of Ukraine and supporting us. Starting this month, I decided to launch paid advertising on YouTube and allocated a small amount of money to show these videos to a larger audience. As you understand, I do not represent any media organization and do everything myself. So if you have the desire and opportunity to support the future development of this channel, you can find all the links under this video. This was my update on the Russian-Ukrainian war for day number 923. I wonder how many days there will be in the end. Take care, and I hope to see you tomorrow.